In food safety, we think a lot about things like temperature checks. But what if that simple check could do way more than just, keep a meal safe? What if it could actually become a powerful tool for the boardroom? That's the huge idea we're going to dig into today. So, here's what we're going to do. First, we'll look at the hidden power in the systems we're all using every day. Then, we'll get into this big shift, moving from just control to something we call governance. It sounds small, but trust me, it changes everything. And then, of course, we'll get into the nitty-gritty, how to actually do it and why it's so incredibly important. All right, let's kick things off with the tools that are right at the heart of food safety. I'm talking about those daily checks and balances. But here's the question, are they really doing all they could be doing? And that's really the big question, isn't it? Are your safety checks just, a box-ticking exercise? Or could they be something so much more? Something that gives you strategic insights to protect the whole company. Let's find out. Okay, so before we can really appreciate this new way of thinking, we've got to look at how things are usually done. What's the baseline? How are critical control points, or CCPs, as we all know them, how are they typically being used right now? So the traditional view, CCPs are seen as absolutely essential, but they're also kind of isolated. They're critical for keeping things running smoothly on the factory floor, for sure. But here's the problem. All that amazing data they generate, it almost never makes it off the factory floor. And this image, this really nails the problem. Think of each of these data points as a puzzle piece. Each one is super important, right? But they're all stuck in their own little boxes. They're siloed. They're not connected to each other, and they're definitely not connected to the bigger picture. And that means all those incredible insights are completely lost on the people making the big strategic calls. All right, so that's the problem. And that brings us to the heart of what we're talking about today. It's a huge, powerful shift in how we see things. It all comes down to this one simple but really powerful question. What if they could be more? I mean, what if these totally routine checks we do every day could actually serve a much bigger, more strategic purpose? This is where things get interesting. And here it is. This is the new way of thinking. We're talking about moving from a critical control point to a critical governance instrument. And look, this is way more than just changing a name. It means turning it into a tool that's strategic, that you can actually audit, and, this is the key part, that creates a direct line from the factory floor right up to the boardroom. Okay, so this all sounds great in theory, right? But how do we actually do it? How do we build that bridge from the factory floor to the boardroom? Let's get practical. The whole point here is to elevate the conversation. We're taking food safety out of the realm of just a technical, operational task and putting it where it belongs, right in the middle of the strategic conversation happening in the boardroom. So here's the 3-step playbook to build that bridge. First, you take all that rich data from your CCPs and you connect it directly to your company's big picture risk registers. The official list of what keeps the executives up at night. Step 2, you use that connection to aim your internal audits like a laser, focusing only on the areas that pose the biggest risks. And finally, step 3, you build a superhighway for that information to travel directly to senior leaders. You're literally turning raw data into strategic gold. Okay, so we've covered the what and the how. But now for the really crucial part, the why. Why go through all this trouble? What's the big payoff at the end? This right here sums it up perfectly. The old way is all about being reactive. You're basically just looking for fires to put out. But the new way, it's all about preventive oversight. You're using data to see round the corner to spot risks before they become problems. It's a complete game changer. And this is what it all leads to. This is the end game, a fully integrated system where governance, auditing, and risk management are all working together, like gears in a perfectly tuned engine. And, this goes way beyond just food safety. This is how you build real, lasting trust with the public. So if you take one thing away from this, let it be this. Moving from a critical control point to a critical governance instrument isn't just semantics. It's a whole new playbook. It's about building systems that are resilient, that look ahead, and that build trust. It's really the difference between just, doing things right and proving with data that you're doing the right things.